I look at my work today and I'm very proud of it. And I feel like a lot of that is due to the fact that I just drew all the time. That's why I'm convinced, actually, when I tell kids, what if I want to start drawing? Just start doing it, do it an hour a day, and don't stop. Just make that your minimum and do it every day. And it'll make an artist out of the least naturally talented of you. And I believe it because it worked for me. And at the time, a little bit of cockiness helps. If you think you're good, you'll get through that. But nobody was telling me I was bad. I'm so grateful for that. Everybody was like, I remember my dad saying, you should get your work on TV. I remember thinking, Dad, that's not how TV works. The idea of just not playing them and not just making them, but being a voice of somebody who talks about them and explores them and interviews people involved with them. And that's when I started to really get my feet wet with that, started building an interview style, started to record in the mid-late 90s, the very first MP3s that I ever made. And I would post those on a blog because there's no such thing as podcasting then. And people would download these terrible sounding 56 kilobyte sound files. But it would be me talking to Cliffy V, which I did once, long before he hit his stride. But he was working for Epic and Unreal at the time, and various others. And it was a really cool taste of what maybe was to come. And I was absolutely convinced that was my road to my 11-year-old obsession with running around with a tape recorder all day. This was going to be the version of that. And I could be a mature voice in that space. I didn't have to be the dumb kid anymore. I could be somebody who had meaningful things to say to even a small audience. I didn't really care. I started the instance. It was focused entirely on World of Warcraft. I did it because there were 4 other shows that claimed to be World of Warcraft shows, and they were, no offense, terrible. They were bad. I thought they were bad. I'm sure somebody liked whatever, but I was like, these aren't things I want to listen to. Well, I'm left with no choice, but let's make a show I want to listen to. So I grabbed a friend. His name was Andrew at the time. We've had a few co-hosts since, but we said, let's start a show. It's going to be strictly about World of Warcraft, and let's go for it. I had no idea how perfect the timing would have been. I just wanted to make it for us. We ended up getting featured on iTunes the very next day. We ended up with, I don't know what it was. We expected maybe 200 or 300 downloads that week. We ended up in the 10,000 range. Like, it just completely exploded and took off. I very quickly found out that everybody at Blizzard was listening to it, that Mike Morhaime had heard our show, which made me kind of lose my mind. But it was this big deal that really kicked things off for me and is a crucial pivot point for moving forward and for the success we've been able to carve out of this since. And I bring that up because I think it's important just to note that sometimes it's just throw the spaghetti at the wall, even if you don't know what you've got, and see if it sticks. And if it sticks, great. And if it doesn't, try something else. That was such an incredible experience with Nerdtacular, and it taught me community is everything in this world. When it comes to creating your stuff, if you can't connect with your fans, your followers, your listeners, your viewers, your players, whatever it is you're creating, then you're missing out. Let's talk about where stuff comes from in terms of revenue. You're hearing all this fun stuff. Sounds like a blast, right? Well, you got to pay the bills. You got to get your kids through school. You got to do all that other stuff. And when I started all this, my kids were 4, 6, and they were young. And they're now 18, 21, and 24. And here's where the stuff comes from: ads and promotions on shows and stuff like that. Crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Patreon, some of these things that are a little bit newer, Twitch, YouTube, those kind of views, those all contribute to it. I'm a big believer in not one basket for all your revenue. Spread it out so that if something goes weird or haywire, you got other options. So that's one way of doing it. Selling prints, originals, clothes, cool stuff on the store. We do a lot of that. I cannot overstate how podcasting and art work together. I absolutely wouldn't be doing one without the other, or the other way around, I don't think. They're just like, make my own album art. Got a new show? We need album art. No worries. Make my own album art. On the art side, it's just opened opportunities for the podcasting side. The podcasting side's opened other opportunities. I got to interview Todd McFarlane once. It's the greatest thing ever. There's no way that works without the two things working at the same time. Nobody wants to be Brad Pitt. It's just too intense. And nobody wants to be not known for anything. So there's a really great way for all of us in here to find this place where you can do just enough. And I can walk into a gas station in California or something and have the guy behind the counter go, you host the instance. And I'll go, oh, hey, and we'll have this connection. But that's it. No one recognizes you in the street. Nobody cares. It's great. but then you know you've got your people in these little places and pockets. It's like little sleeper cells. We're gonna all rise up one day. And do what you love until you're great at it. That's really the main thing. I'm always in awe of people who are really great at the things they do, and I see their process. Watching Steve and his work, you need to check out his table today or tomorrow and watch him work. It's crazy to see the kind of meticulous work he puts into his stuff. It inspires me. It makes me want to draw. To the point that I went out and had Kim go buy a monitor at Target, and I'm going to be drawing live on the floor out there because I can't let Steve have all the fun. But well, there was a specific time in like 2008 where I was still splitting a full-time job with what I was doing, and it occurred to me that I was basically working 2 jobs, and that was starting to cut into family time, and it was starting to bug me in that regard. But also, I started to notice that the stuff I was doing on the side was making more than the stuff I was doing full time, and I had to make a decision. And I knew if I didn't do it, if I didn't try it, I was chicken. Don't get me wrong, I was terrified, but I knew if I didn't do it, it wasn't going to happen, and that was the only way I was going to free up that time, because I'd filled all my time. Turns out I was wrong. As soon as I did that, I filled it up with more stuff. I thought I can do more shows now. I can create more things, and now my schedule's just ridiculous again. But if you feel like you don't have the time, at least in my case, what became apparent was that I had to find a way to get it. And that may have been a job change, or it may have been just an overall lifestyle change, or whatever it ends up being. In my case, it was cutting off full-time and going with this full-time. That's not going to be the same for everybody, obviously, but it is important that you find that balance. And that really is our time. Thank you very much for that. That was an awesome question. And thank you again, guys. Have a great rest of the con.